Hey, welcome to the It's MK podcast with Mason K as your host. Today we'll be talking about a number of things and doing a little bit of fun games. To start us off with, I'm thinking we will tell some stories about injuries that we've sustained over the courses of our short lives, or some would say the first quarter of our lives. And just basically talk about all the things that, stupid things that we've done that have caused us to either go to the emergency room or get awful close. And to start us off with, our first guest is, introduce yourself, please.
Buns.
We're back.
And Yuna.
And so to start off, we will be talking to Buns and figuring out one of his best injury stories.
Well, best.
Okay. So what we're
subjective.
What you're saying is that we're telling our audience a crappy story about.
Well, when you say best, it makes it sound like it was so fun.
I'm upselling. Like I might be lying, but I'm upselling. That's what we're supposed to do. Like,
well, what am I?
And now I had to say it.
Well, one of my injuries that I do remember. It's very easy to remember because it was on Valentine's Day. So I was on Valentine's Day. I wanted to confess or whatever, to say to a girl that I liked her, and so I got a rose and everything like that, some chocolates, and some money for her. I didn't think she was a whore, but but that day I was actually with Griffin, and we were in economics class, and I remember I was feeling very sick and my stomach felt really tight. So I was like, I talked to the teacher and I asked her, can I go to the restroom because I'm not feeling all too well? And then she's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I went down to the restroom and I went into the stall, and as soon as I went into that stall, I knew exactly what to do. I just started puking, and it was not normal puke. Like it was yellow, which means that there was bile in it. And so I already knew that it's not going to be a good day. And as soon as I walked out, there was a guy in there, and He goes like, good job, man. I was like, didn't know I had an audience. Yeah. I didn't know I had an audience. So I went up to the teacher and I was like, yeah, you know what? I got to get out of here. And she was like, okay, go to the nurse. So I called my mom and I went home. And for a while, I just felt awful. And I didn't get to confess to the girl I liked, which was a shame. But I guess, it's whatever.
It was stress vomit.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me throw up bile.
Yeah.
And
burst a pipe that way.
The weird thing was, my mom was watching Dr. Oz on the TV, and I was in my room, and the living room is right across from my room, so I could hear pretty much everything. And he was talking about appendicitis, and I was like, huh. I was listening to him, and then he says that one way to test if you have appendicitis is to fist or to cup your hand into a fist, and then push it against the side of your stomach. And if you feel don't push so heavily, but just lightly push it. And if you feel a lot of pressure on that side, you have appendicitis, or it's a sign that you'll have appendicitis. And I tested it, and I was like, yeah, you know what? It does feel pretty bad, but I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, no, it's probably a coincidence. I'm probably just thinking of this, like, because it's the only thing that makes sense.
The WebMD effect, basically.
Yeah. So I brushed it off, and I was just like, well, maybe I'll get some sleep, and then hopefully I'll feel better in the morning. So it was around, I want to say 9:00, and I started I couldn't move. Like, and if I did move, it would just hurt. My stomach was just like burning up, and I could not, for the life of me, think straight because I was in so much pain. And then my mom goes up to me and she's like, we'll call your dad and tell him to pick you up and then take you to the hospital. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. And he goes like, why not? And I go, because I'm afraid that my dad will think I'm a bitch. So I didn't do it I didn't call him for 10 extra minutes until then. I was like, you know what? I need to get to the hospital. So I called my dad.
Why did you call 911?
Because we didn't know if it was anything serious. It could just be gas or something.
And then gas causes you to throw up bile.
So because ambulances can be expensive. I mean, we have insurance or whatever, but there's no reason to charge so much. So we go over there to the emergency room, they sign me in, and then they tell me that I need to take a urine test, and I could not pee for like the longest time. The doctor was like, we need you to pee in this, and then he just gives me a giant gallon jug, and I'm like, there's no way I can fill that out, and I couldn't do it. And my dad's like, well, if you do it, I get you an Xbox 360, which these were barely out. So
so we're talking about 10 years ish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it, even though I wanted that Xbox. I just couldn't pee. And then so they were like, all right, well, we're gonna wheel you in and then see what you have. So they did some tests on me, and they're like, oh, you have appendicitis and gangrene, which means that my appendix was it had gangrene on it, which is poisonous. So if also it could have bursted. If it would have done either, the poison would have spread far enough, or if the appendix would have burst, I could have died. And so I was like, oh, well, is there anything you can do about that? And they're like, we could remove it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, so let's do that.
That sounds easy enough.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to die. From what I understand, getting the appendix removed is pretty standard. Mm-hmm. Typically, 1 in every 4, I think, get that. So they took it out, they removed it. They didn't let me keep it, oddly enough. They usually ask you if you want to keep it, but they didn't for me, and I just wanted to see what it looked like.
Well, the thing is, it's poisonous, that's why. And they also might want to use whatever they grab as a scientific research type of thing.
Oh yeah, it's so weird. Yeah,
I would have stuck it in a jar with my cat fetus.
Or somebody could have had it for lunch. So I was. I remember though there was one thing that the doctor did. Whenever they had to clean out my blood because they wanted to be sure that there was no poison going through. There was a little bit, but not enough to kill me. Mm. So they stuck this little. It's like a needle, kind of, but it gets larger on the sides, mm-hmm. and then it has a little suction thing to it, and then at the end it has this little ball, mm-hmm. and it stores in the bad blood.
Yeah.
And I remember they put that in me while I was under, so I didn't really feel it. And then when the operation was done and I was completely healed up from surgery and stuff, they were like, all right, it's time to take it out. So I was like, oh, okay. He goes I'm going to take it out now. I was like, oh, okay. And then he goes all right, on the count of 3, I'm going to pull it out. And it's like, wait, give me a second. And then he just rips it out and I'm like, ah! Because it's a bladed tool. It's at the. Is
it shear, shredded blades, or is it serrated? Sorry.
Yeah, it's because it has to pass the flesh.
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
so they need it to be like.
Yeah,
that.
and it needs to stay in there.
Yeah, it was just a sharp pain, and I remember they were like.
So Paul, oddly enough, knows how to be and knows what it feels like to be stabbed.
Yeah. It was pretty weird, and the thing that sucked about it too, after surgery, it really hurts to laugh. So my family tried to make me laugh as much as they could, and they put on Dumb and Dumber, which it was the part where they're at the convenience store and they're drinking the smoothies. Their brains start hurting, but they don't know why, and then. I can't remember which character it was. I think it was Jim Carrey's character. He just kept on slurping it so fast. He's like, "Oh
my god!"
And then I just kept on laughing at that, and I just remember that hurting. And I was out of school for about 2 weeks, and then when I went back, it was, oh man, it was horrible because I had to catch up with so much work. Matter of fact, I missed so much school that I had to do credit restoration. And I was like, oh man, this all sucks. Yeah, I was out for 2 weeks. It was mostly because of the poison and stuff. Mm. I remember, it pretty much kind of made me, I couldn't really walk very well because of that. Because I was so used to laying down for a little bit, so I had to get used to walking again. The nurse would take me out and she would help me walk and stuff. That was weird, but that was probably one of my biggest injuries that I ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Alright. So, the first injury I ever sustained that I can remember, I was 18 months old.
You look 18.
Thank you. And, I was taking a bath and
You don't do that anymore.
no, I take showers, you asshole. But I was taking a shower and my grandma, who is now deceased, may God have her rest in peace or whatever. Was like, Griffin, come on, get out of the bath, and I I was an asshole then, and I'm an asshole now. So I said no, and I jerked my body to the left as I said no. And my feet came out from underneath me, and my left eye just smacked the fucking drain handle.
Oh.
Just smacked it. So I have like a good inch and a half scar on my left eye. Now, I'm not blind in it.
Yet.
And they were taking me to the hospital, and my mom told me that they numbed my left eye, but I kept screaming like a little bitch when they were fucking. So it's because they have a needle next to your fucking eye. Who wouldn't scream at that when they're 18 months old? Come on. But that's my short story. My long story. Oh, it's not necessarily a scar, but it's an impression. I'll say that.
What?
So I was probably 10 or 11. I was, obviously still living with my parents at the time. And the elementary school I went to had this like small baseball field. It wasn't like elaborate. It was just a small one. Wasn't that great. Me and my parents and a couple of neighborhood kids, we went over there. We were playing some baseball because we had some balls, a couple of mitts, and a baseball bat. And took a couple swings, did a couple pitches, and all that fun shit. We were.
Did you pitch or catch?
Yes. So we did that for a while, and then I ended up being in the outfield, and they were. I mean, fucking, I was out there for like 7-8 minutes, and the ball didn't come anywhere near my direction. So I just. At some point, I stopped paying attention to what was going on, which is where I fucked up. So I'm looking towards the building. The whole field is to my back. I can't see anything going on. So I'm just like, man, it's a really nice day today. And I hear my dad scream my name. I turn to the left, and the baseball just fucking flattens me out. Hits me in the side of the head, and I hit the fucking ground. Out cold.
Oh my gosh.
And I woke up, and I had the worst fucking headache ever. Worse than that hangover. And yeah, that left a dent in my head.
Ooh.
A dent.
Oh
A dent.
my gosh.
Oh yeah, it's a fucking dent.
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's probably affected me from then on, because I'm pretty sure I'd be a lot fucking smarter now that I, like, if then hadn't have happened.
Would you say that the eye injury kind of was the spark of it, since it's so close to the brain?
Yes.
I would say that the fact that my skull didn't crush into my brain would have been the more impressionable one on that.
Yeah, actually,
Because this would have affected more of my ability to see.
Yeah, well, I think,
eye, rather than my ability to, smart.
I think the thing about it is that the eye is like the only thing stopping you from going straight to the brain. Like if you had no eye, you could poke your own brain.
And it's also basically
Imagine how many idiots would do that.
basically in the end is indirect head trauma.
Actually, like with concussions and stuff, I know they do. Yeah.
That reminds me of a story, just a short story, real quick. There was I used to go to my friend's house who lived right behind me, and he called two of his friends over to play football because we used to be pretty athletic back in the day. And
Sure.
yeah, it's true. Matter of fact, I applied
He's
for
the
football.
king of the Play-Doh Fun Factory.
Yeah, I applied to join the football team, but I couldn't because of my vision. But so we all decided to play tackle football, 2 on each team, and there was this guy that we'll just call him We'll
Betty.
just call him Jeff. So Jeff was a mutual friend of mine. I knew of him, but I didn't really talk to him that much. And well, the thing about him is he showboats a lot, and he was an asshole. So whenever he'd steal the football from me, I would be like, okay, and then he'd get like really happy about it. So what I did was his teammate threw the football at him, and I charged at him and got right underneath his legs. And once I got right underneath his legs, he flipped over me, and then he landed right on his back. And I was just like, he had a problem because he couldn't breathe for a second.
Oh my god!
And I was like, I felt so bad, but then again, I felt so good.
Right?
I was like, he's an asshole. And I was just like, oh man, that was one of my
You
proudest
got a
moments.
punctured lung.
Yeah, because he
Wow,
was
an
like,
empathetic sadist.
he couldn't breathe. He was like,
Oh my gosh!
yeah. I was like, it was funny.
I think you would
'cause-
have more license to feel bad if he was hospitalized after that.
Yeah, but even then, I'd probably still feel a little twinge of excitement. It's like, because I mean,
Get his
asshole.
pee-pee hard.
How many of us here have actually broken a bone?
That's
No.
I've never
Yeah.
broken a bone.
Oh, so me and you? So I did this when I was 6. Alright, yes, I, for whatever reason, was super prone to accidents as a kid. And we used to have this old fucking rocking chair before we had to throw it out because it just fucking fell apart. So I was, me and my dad were playing, we were just running around the house and he just chasing me out. If I can remember what exactly was going on at that time, but
Just
Good
something.
stuff.
Yeah.
that's just stuff, presume as you will. And the rocking chair was very sturdy, so I came just bolting around the corner, and my right foot just right the fuck into it, and I broke my right pinky toe. I cannot bend it backwards at all.
Well, really?
Not at all.
Not even today.
Wow.
Like,
No.
Huh.
I can bend it forward. I can't bend it backwards. Can't bend it backwards.
Yeah, it's like with my dad, this is a pretty morbid story.
Because, see?
Oh my gosh, it is immovable.
But this was fine.
Yeah. Like this one's slightly more morbid, and this has nothing to do with me. This happened when I was really young, like insanely young. I wasn't even there. My dad was like at a gas station, and this guy starts approaching him, and he's got his hand in like his pocket or something. And so my dad thinks he's got a gun. So when this guy comes up to him, my dad puts his hand up because he thinks he's gonna push the gun up away from him. Well, it turns out he had a knife, and it sliced his hand.
Oh, yeah.
shit.
And let me just say, his thumb was down here.
oh god.
And
Your
he didn't
dad's?
even know it. Yes, he did not know it. He figured he got stabbed, but he was just like, the guy took off. So my dad was just gonna go and get it taken care of. He couldn't turn the key to the ignition in the car, and he didn't know it because he couldn't feel his thumb. He had so much adrenaline from the event that he couldn't feel his thumb. And so he didn't know why he couldn't turn the key.
That's intense.
And when he looks down, he sees what happened. And but he could not feel a thing because of all the stuff that was going on.
Holy shit.
And when they patched him back up, everything's fine. But yeah, he has trouble moving that now. He can't do like this anymore.
Damn.
So yeah,
Is it to his right hand?
it would probably be his dominant. So yeah, I would assume so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that would have to be the one since that's the one that turns the ignition.
Yeah.
What
So-
can he still like grip things?
Yeah, no, he can still do everything pretty much okay, but he's lost some mobility in that area because this is what was.
Yeah,
off.
yeah, it's one of those things that once you get like heavily stabbed, or that's basically close enough of being shot, the movement in your body will be so difficult to move, to just basically do unless you get physical therapy.
Yeah, so like they were able to fix him up just fine though. Like over time, like, and it was almost like nothing happened. I've never had anything like that happen before. Um, but so that is a thing. Am I going to share mine next, or?
Yeah, just go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, my actual story, and the only reason I brought up the other one was because it seemed related in some way, but and also I wanted to top everything. But mine.
I don't know. Almost dying, kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you never know when it comes to a stabbing. So I like.
Well, if that's the case, I have a story to top that, but go ahead.
Jeez. All right, well, yeah, before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and tell my actual story. And it takes place when I was very, very young, probably less than 10 years old. We used to own this little farmland out in the middle of nowhere. It's in a little town called Grand Saline, Texas, and I just tell you, that's like hillbilly farm country. Nobody lives there, sort of thing. Like, I couldn't even tell you where McDonald's was there. And so like every other summer, whenever we like, it might not have been summer, but I know we weren't in school at the time, so it probably was. But we would go up there a lot just to like stay there, and I kind of hated it because there was nothing to do. It was like we had these bedrooms and all this stuff, but it always felt like we were like really roughing it. It was almost like actually camping. So I kind of hated it. I mean, I made the best out of it. I would get flipped out if my parents ever left because like I didn't know where they would be. Like one morning I woke up and I was all freaked out because no one was there except me. And I hated that. So I just didn't like the idea of being isolated like that. And also, in order to get there, this increases the isolation factor. There's a bridge across this huge dip. It's like a mini ravine and like a little stream going through it. Not much. There was like concrete and rocks in that stream, so like there wasn't even that much water going through it at the time. And I remember, like, in order to get there, I was always flipped out when we drive over it. I'd be like, oh man, this is, like it was a wooden bridge, and it was in bad shape. But we had to drive our car over it to get to the house. And I just absolutely hated that. But luckily, nothing ever happened to the car. We did later on have it reinforced. But before that, we were walking past the bridge. We were walking away from the house, and I can't remember. I think we were actually parked on the other side. We didn't actually take the car on the other side that time. So we were parked on the other side of the bridge because we didn't want to take the car across. Well, one time we were walking back from the house and up to the car, and as we're walking up, everyone's walking on the bridge, and they're all walking on the center, and there is no guardrails on this thing whatsoever. It's literally just a wooden log bridge with like some fence posts like stuck on the edges, and so what I was doing was like, because like everything was fine. It was like I was a child. I knew I didn't weigh that much. I knew I couldn't make much of an impact on anything. So everyone was playing it safe, like in the middle, because that's the most that has the most structural integrity on the bridge. I went on the edge because, like, I don't know, I was a stupid kid. And so I start walking on the edge like this, and everyone's telling me, like, be careful. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, it's all good. Typical kid hubris stuff. So as I'm walking on the edge, I hit one of the planks, and it was dead wood. It dropped me like a rock.
How many
feet? I don't even know. That's how bad it was. I fell. I swear it was like 30 feet. I think. It's so hard for me to remember.
That's a pretty fucking deep drop.
So basically, you were on. If this was a 2-story house, you were on the second floor, and you basically dropped down on the first floor.
That's 20.
Yeah, this is about 10 feet.
Yeah, like...
So it'll be 3.
Yeah, somewhere about 3.
Okay.
So,
approximately,
yeah,
3?
so as I fall down to this thing, and I catch myself in the air, like... Well, when I say catch myself, I mean I feel it. I can feel myself falling, and everything went slow. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life. Because as I was falling, I was watching everything, and somehow in that moment... It was like I knew what was going to happen. but there was nothing I could do to stop it. So I'm looking up, and I'm looking around, and I see all this stuff, and I see where I'm like, well, I don't look down. I was headed back. So I believe I fell on my back. And this is a quote that I actually do remember from after I woke up. I told the doctor I felt like I was surfing, which is hilarious because, like, I don't know what it feels like to surf. But I said that it was one of the many incoherent mumblings I said as I woke up. But what I do remember is hitting the cement slab. And what's interesting, what is super interesting, no blood, no broken bones, some hair got detached from my head and was on the rock, apparently, but that was it. I didn't even feel pain. And that was surreal because, like, I figured I would have died. Like, there's no coming back from that in my head. Like, even looking back at it, I'm like, how? I still don't understand to this day how I even remotely survived, much less without anything. Possibly a concussion. I don't know. I remember I fell down and I was still there. I was still all there. But I watched my dad fly down the side of this ravine because he's just jumping down. It's very steep, but he was running down this steep incline to get me. And I remember that, and that was one of the last things I remember. Because after that, I was going in and out of consciousness in the car on the way to the emergency room. And my parents were trying desperately to keep me awake, but I just kept falling out. And I could see where that would be concerning. But later on, I wake up, and I guess it was like a hospital. I wouldn't even say it's a hospital. Like, it was...
An alleyway?
No, it was... it was no, they take care of patients there, but it's not a full-fledged hospital. We were in the middle of nowhere, bear in mind.
Medical center, basically.
Yeah, it was like some cheap medical center.
The
I highly doubt it was a hospital. I don't remember a hospital at all. I remember there being a doctor and everything, and then finally waking me up, and I remember getting up and everything.
Why don't you be a dentist instead or something?
Yeah, I hate dentists. That would have been more terrifying. But yeah, I woke up after that, and it was just like, I to this day, I always think back on that, and I think just, like, I don't know how. And ever since then, I've always had this feeling of, like, or this positivity that says that everything will work out for the best. So in a way, that gave me a positive outlook on that. That was my thing.
I guess I can do a quick fire of basically what happened for me. It all happened in the Philippines.
7 years ago.
Heading over there, I tripped over my own hand carry with that had the wheels on it, and I ended up running into our large, basically a luggage pusher. And I thought the luggage would go one way, it went the other way, and it landed on me. I got a few bruises on my legs. When we were there, we went swimming. The first time, I got salt water in my ear. If you don't properly remove it and such, it can lead to infection, which ended up happening, and I started poking and, like, picking at my ear. I almost ripped my eardrum.
Ooh.
But I quickly recovered. Thirdly, when I was taking a shower at my Lola's place, may she rest in peace, I was going to leave the restroom. My brother was going to enter the restroom, and we were also having a big hissy fit. As I tried to turn the doorknob, he was doing the same thing, and he basically pushed the door, and he hit my nose almost to the point of breaking it, but not there, but double bloody nose.
Ooh.
Instead of one side, it was just double bloody.
It's like anime character.
Except she's not fawning over an anime character.
Fourth, me and my brother, we shared the same room while we were there. And we were still pretty pissed off at each other, and we were basically pushing each other off the bed, to the point where he's like, basically, "Fuck you," and just used all his force, and my head, I didn't crack it, but I knew I had a big bruise there. It hit against the tile floor.
Ooh.
Let's see. Picking up my basically quinceañera dress. They didn't use, tiles and escalators where we were at in the mall. It was all concrete. So I was like, yeah, I can carry the dress, but since I'm short and the dress is about 6 feet long from bust to skirt, I tripped over the skirt and I fell down 2 to 3 steps of concrete stairs.
Oh, jeez.
And then my actual 16th birthday, I was wearing heels. Going in, I was crying. It was a moment, seeing family, blah, blah, blah. I tripped, but I ended up hitting my elbow against, basically the side of one of the chairs, and it was metal. And I was basically doing the whole broken arm pose the entire time because I couldn't move it.
Oh my god.
And then there's this whole little thing that they were just like, okay, we're gonna talk about you, and I had to sit in a chair. The chair collapsed underneath me, but that was because the chair itself was broken, and I landed on my butt.
What an insanely terrible day.
And then it's like, you know what? This is okay. It's okay. Sweet 16. I'm in the Philippines, vacation, all this and that. We go up, and I wouldn't say it was an injury, but it was more a possibility of an injury scare. As I said, dress is very, very long. I'm really, really short, even with heels on. The dress got caught in the elevator, and we were like, stop it, stop. Because one, it would have cost about $200 over there in pesos. But also, it was like, if this ended badly, I would have lost a leg or something.
Ooh.
Gosh.
And then in the end, while we were doing our last, basically the last night in, I think it was either Bacolod or Manila, we were having a dinner and all sorts, and I thought there was an opening to sit, but I didn't realize that it wasn't actually a whole seat. There wasn't any cover on it, a wooden cover. It was just basically legs all attached together. I don't know what my uncles were doing. I tried to take a seat in it, and I basically fell, and I was stuck. Basically sitting in a box. but it was rear end smacking against concrete.
Oh my
Ooh.
gosh.
So yeah,
That reminds me of one more thing that I had.
Okay.
One more thing. This one it's not exactly an injury, but I guess I did have to go to the hospital for it. Mm-hmm. So my parents and I were watching the Angry Birds movie, and I was like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I could take it back. So I was like, I'm not really having it. I don't really care much for it. So I was gonna walk out to my room, which my room is detached from the house, and it's pretty much they converted the garage into an extra room. I call it the man cave. And on my way out there was a fly flying around, and I was trying to swat it, but for whatever reason it decided to go into my ear. So the whole time...
Oh, this story.
Yeah, the whole time it was stuck in there, and I could feel it scraping against my ear. And not only that, it would flap, too.
And, by the way, your ears are incredibly sensitive.
So it wasn't exactly very pleasant. So I walked inside, and I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. Because, and you go, why? They're like, why? Why do you need to go to the hospital? It's like, because there's a fly in my ear. And they're like, why? Like, what did you do? And I was like, I just tried to swat it away. And I was like, ah! I was like, because it just kept on scraping against my ear. And the wings gave a sensation that was so uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because flies, they have that, you know how, the hummingbird's wings, they go, insane for, in
the membrane.
Yeah, because they move so quickly, it's you watch it and you can barely see them. And flies are even worse because their wings are so small and they move so quickly. So what he's experiencing is this thing that's constantly moving and rubbing. So that's awful.
Oh yeah, it was one of those experiences that I do not.
I
like.
remember you calling me after the fact, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we stopped watching the Angry Birds movie. My dad took me to the hospital.
They got to finish it there.
Yeah, actually, we thought that they did, but they didn't. So I was waiting there, and then we went into the. I wouldn't say it's an emergency room. It's just a room where they can just take it out.
Mm-hmm.
They got these pliers, and then they got it out right before, and it was standing still. We thought it was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy, the doctor who took it out, he just puts it on the desk, and he's like, "Okay, it's gone. Do you want to keep it?" I'm like, "No." Why would I want to keep
I was like, I wanted my appendix. Where do you have that?
Yeah. So they were like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll just get you some papers to sign real quick, and we'll be right back. And we're like, okay. And then my dad and I are just sitting there, just talking for a little bit, and then we see the fly again. It's not even dead. We thought they killed it, but no. So my dad had to kill the fly again, or we'll kill the fly for the first time. So. It was really weird just having it stuck in my ear the whole time. The ride over there was probably the worst because, I think the fly knew that we were moving, at a more accelerated speed.
Yeah, well, with a lot of animals, including insects, they have a sensibility for that. Yeah.
So it just kept on flapping more often and more often, and my family thought, I was being kind of
bitch.
Bitch. And I was like, no, trust me. It's not pleasant. It's not. And they're like, just get over it. I was like, okay. So I tried to minimize as much as I could. And, oh man, it was bad. It was annoying too.
Yeah, so there's a fun little thing to tell your kids before bed. They need to close their ears, otherwise the bugs will get them.
And the Sandman.
Just surround yourself with those fly tacks.
Yeah, you got. Yeah. We had to use those for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should.
I forgot about that.
Move on to the secondary thing we got here. We are going to do improv storytelling, which basically one of us starts it off. We go around basically finishing the sentence, trying to tell the story word for word. Rules is you cannot use conjoined words like and, but.
Yeah, those are too easy.
I would say repeatedly.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of sentences lend themselves to that, but usually what you can do is keep it going a different way.
If you can't finish up the sentence, you'll just get buzzed. Plain and simple. And we'll start off with the host and go around.
And let's say we give the person like a 5-second.
Okay, then someone else want to keep track of that. So
to continue.
Right.
it.
Okay. So if we're gonna start, who's keeping track of time? Can we?
I've got a thing on my phone.
Nifty little tool.
I just know that 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi words.
Okay, how long are we going for?
In the total?
We'll go for a couple minutes. I got a timer up here.
that's fine.
Okay.
All right. So just let me know when to start.
And go.
When I was a young boy, my dad took me to the city to see a marching band.
The marching band was Green Day, which I didn't enjoy. So I decided to go to the strip club.
During our time at the strip club, and yes, I brought along my family as well to show how pitiful I've become, I decided to partake in all the activities.
Which consisted of several different things. Pole dancing was a huge highlight for my dad, and but I particularly liked making it rain on him.
After that, I decided to go back to the city, but I completely forgot about my bruncheon date with Jack the Ripper. So I immediately rushed over to La Creme, the restaurant.
Where I was waiting for about 5 minutes before Jack the Ripper finally decided to show up, but he killed me anyways.
during then, my father was still having a great time on the pole until he realized that one of my 20 sons has gone missing, so he decided to go and search for me.
And when he saw the scene of the crime, he immediately knew who had done it. Jack was still standing over my body, acting like the big typical a-hole that he was, parading around and dabbing and and just having a general merriment while the restaurant staff stood in horror. They didn't even call the cops. It was kind of weird.
Luckily, we found out who his accomplice was and who planted it. It was all Jake Paul's doing. So we decided to go to his house, but unfortunately we couldn't get there because our car had broken down.
But that's okay. We took the Shoelace Express, and it turns out he was just right down the street any fucking ways. Because who would be a lazy piece of shit get into a car to drive all of 30 seconds? And what we did to him
was so atrocious that even I, dead, ghost, all in heaven, yeah. Okay.
I was wondering when we get back to the whole,
So
he's a ghost thing.
Okay, yeah.
I know, that's why I gave it to her.
Right?
Well, Buns, you got a couple seconds. Start off the topic.
Wait, do I start off on you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was at the club and I was ready for a drink. I don't drink, but I like sodas. So I was asking the guy for Jack and Coke, minus the Jack.
And he gave me a funny look and told me, look, we don't serve any women here. You either order Jack and Coke, or you know what, since you said Coke, I'll just give you a line of cocaine.
Or, says the second bartender, since you're a big pussy, why don't you hop on stage and show off some good stuff?
And I did. And you know what? I showed that stupid-ass bartender exactly what I got. He was a little bit surprised at the gyrating, but I made it work. I have a large enough package that it shows out against my pants, but not so large that it's too intimidating. So everyone kind of enjoyed that.
When I was up on the stage, I was a little nervous because this is the first time I had ever done it. But luckily, the stripper next to me, Candy, showed me the ropes. And when I mean that, she pulled out some ropes and we did bondage stuff. It was hot, and the people got a good kick out of it. I definitely got a good tip.
And she got a good tip too, and it was very moist. I can't fucking do this.
Okay. I mean, if anyone out there is struggling with an idea for a book, this would be a good way to start it.
Darian, got anything on the topic? I'll give you a few seconds.
When I was a little girl, all the boys used to say, "Griffin, oh Griffin, why don't you show us that fine pussy?"
But the thing is, I couldn't betray my mother's trust to show it out into the open.
See, she had a lot of stock in that. I put it out on the market because we were very poor growing up, and when I did, surprisingly, it gained a lot of traction on Wall Street. And you know what? It's been hiking up ever since.
I feel like I need to be more open about what I mean by traction. I meant people put a lot of their penises inside me so that way I could get money to end up on Wall Street. I was pretty much the poor pretty woman, in a sense.
And you know what? I made a lot of money. I also made a lot of STDs crawl up in my pussy. But you know what? I would say it was worth it.
Because in the end, friendship was the true treasure that was gained.
I think we're fine now.
I'd say we're cute.
Okay, let's see how... So the other day, I decided to go downtown, have a little bit of me time. But little did I know that me time became we time.
See, creepy Daryl that always sat in the corner had finally just had enough. You know, he always watched me, and he would stare through his binoculars, which was weird because I was only like 3 tables away. But I think he just really liked the mole on my right breast.
Which was fine, because I was an entertainer. That's what I do. I entertain. So what I decided to do was to put one finger and fiddle-diddle it inside my tight pussy. It felt good at first, but then I realized I was at a children's school. Now, feeling ashamed, and Daryl, he was feeling quite entertained, but at the same time, I realized maybe this isn't the best thing, and the officer said that as well.
But what he didn't know is that I too was an officer, because I was doing a cavity search, quote unquote, so I didn't look so suspicious, because, you know, you gotta get voice.
My partner, who was on the other side of town for some goddamn reason, decided to oversee everything through the power of camera. We'll do one more.
Okay.
We'll do one more.
All right.
What was the camera called?
Oh,
clairvoyance.
surveillance, or?
Yeah, surveillance. God damn it.
Yeah.
I thought you were going for clairvoyance or something.
That's what I was thinking.
It was like clairvoyance, you could see, stuff.
I mean, yeah, clairvoyance would have worked too. You could have a clairvoyance camera that could see everything.
One time, I was in my backyard grilling.
At band camp.
There was... and while I was grilling, I decided to put a steak on the grill, because like, how else are you supposed to do like barbecue and stuff like that? So it's like, I bought this thing from a street vendor, which was strange, but it smelled so good that I knew I had to try it.
After I realized you're not really supposed to cook a steak on a grill, or at least not a traditional grill, I decided to leave and go to the barber shop. And the barbers were quite friendly to me. However, I was white, so they were talking a lot behind my back.
And they were telling me that some dumbass white cracker was trying to cook some goddamn steak on a motherfucking grill. But, you know what, they decided to give me a little bit of leniency because they knew my cousin, Kadarian, lived, right down the street from me. So they knew I had some black in me. And they were giving me some pro tips on how to properly cook a steak.
Throughout the entire time while watching those dank movies on the telly, the news flash appeared saying that a house was currently on fire. Little did I know, it was my neighbor's house. I had nothing to do with it.
I swear I have an alibi. Can you please let me go?
They said that, no, we can't because we have evidence that you tried to cook a steak on a grill, which is unforgivable, and we found a steak on their front lawn.
But I offered some services to get out of trouble, so needless to say, I got scot-free, but I paid the ultimate price because I still ended up in cuffs.
But even then, besides setting things on fire, finding my true inner African American side, the biggest thing that I was charged with was the fact that I wasn't grilling on a grill. I was grilling on a woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
Yep, that basically ends the mark on that.
Okay. Alrighty then. We
Where are we? I can't.
What you want to see like the time?
Oh, okay. I think we'll wrap it up with basically, I'm gonna throw a random topic that's been going on in the news. You guys give your short opinion about, or maybe 2 or 3 topics. You guys give me your short opinion about it. And yeah. Pick a number, Buns.
10.
Pick a number between 1 and 5.
Okay, you should have said that.
I know.
Well, she said between 1 and 5.
She didn't say that. She said pick a number.
Yeah, that was my first.
No, she said pick a number between 1 and 5, not from 1 to 5.
4.9.
Yes.
gosh.
Okay. Let's see. Amid obesity epidemic, Coke shifts health focus from exercise to calories. The whole biggest concern with their whole movement is the fact that there are more obese people than underweight, and they are basically trying to promote their drink by saying it has less calories in it, meaning it is still good for you, versus the whole fact of exercise can actually help benefit of the longevity of your life.
Well, I mean, having less calories doesn't necessarily make it more healthy. They could have added something in there to kind of something they like shoved underneath the carburetor, kind of had it fly under the radar to throw in there,
Yeah.
and also say, oh hey, we somehow made it and reduced the fucking calories in it. Which Coke, if y'all have seen the video of a guy pouring like a 12 or 20 ounce Coke bottle into a pan and then frying it, like fucking so much goddamn sugar in that shit, like disgusted me. So if Coke, they can fuck off if they listen to this.
Yeah.
If they even try to
getting
remotely
sponsored by Coke,
promote this to me as healthy, they can suck a dick, because most of their diet products have aspartame in it, which can cause blindness.
And,
But obviously they put just enough in there to put it on the label, not enough to actually cause the blindness. But if you consume enough of it in mass quantities, then obviously.
well, yeah.
Well, the problem with it being is that they're saying that obesity is the problem, not necessarily what's in it, it's how much weight they're gaining. Now, I read this article about this guy. He was a professor, and he was teaching about health. And so, I mean, he knows what he's talking about. And he said that the problem is that they aren't watching what calories they're eating for weight. Not exactly about internal health, but about weight itself. So what he did was he decided to do this experiment where he would get nothing but junk food, like chips, Oreo cookies.
I think I know the guy you're talking about too.
Yeah, anything considered junk food and fatty. And he would count the calories and everything like that and make sure to give himself right portions. And he, at the end, he ended up losing weight, which was his point, saying that you can gain weight, but it's all about the portions rather than like the stuff that's in it.
Yeah.
So you can have sugar, but you have to count how much sugar you're intaking. So it's just about the portions pretty much rather than what's in it. So you can have sugary stuff.
Yeah.
You just
Like
have to make sure
that
you
was
have
actually one of the points that I was going to hit on. More of our diet situations have to do with moderation than anything. Like, you can eat a lot of healthy stuff, but if you eat too much of any given thing, you are liable to gain weight, especially in the way of soda, because a lot of water weight stays with you. And to me, it's more about just how much you do of anything. So with Coke, like if you have one Coke like a day, like it's not going to make a huge it's not going to hit you that hard. But like if you drink it all the time, if that's your thing, then yeah, it's going to hit, like you're going to feel that.
Yeah, the one thing that really stuck out to me when I thought like it was kind of stupid was Super Size Me. In the documentary, it's about a guy who goes over like stuff if you eat McDonald's excessively. But the thing is, he did it for 30 days straight. I cannot imagine one person who would go to McDonald's for 30 days straight and get nothing but supersized stuff for 3
that
meals.
was when it's after that documentary they
stopped doing supersize, which I mean, like I
honestly
miss
fuck that guy for getting rid of it, honestly, because the larges are like
huge.
are like pretty fucking huge, but the super sizes, boy, that shit was like a fucking big gulp.
Yeah, like I don't miss supersizes, but I because I barely I was a kid when supersizing was still a thing.
Well,
so
everything
we were
was
already
supersized for
getting
kids. It's like,
Okay, and I'm going to let's see here. It's a little bit of a touchy topic, but they're always in the news around this time of year. Starbucks is under fire over holiday cups that featured same-sex couples' hands.
Every year.
So this is what, the 4th year in a row that Starbucks has offended the entire nation over
A cup.
over a design on their cup.
It was about
So
colors.
wait, what was the thing this time?
I think last year was the color thing.
Same
Yeah.
sex.
Because
they-
Hands, same sex people holding.
Is that verified same sex?
Oh.
I'm not so sure.
How would you tell?
Yeah, they were both wearing sweaters. You know what? A lot of people wear holiday sweaters.
Yeah,
It's up to your interpretation.
If only gay people wear sweaters, okay, sure. But
Okay. So, in the society we live in now, which 10 years ago
Yeah,
you
you
can
can't
say
really tell.
was definitely not the same because we've become so hypersensitive to so many things. Because oh my god, I was so fucking infuriated when they came up with safe zones for kids in college because they can't fucking handle the pressure of real life. I'm just saying, if you honestly need to go into a safe zone, fucking jump off a goddamn bridge. There's your fucking safe zone.
there have been...
We do not endorse
Suicide?
and anything that comes.
I'm
along
sorry,
with
we
it.
do not endorse suicide or nothing like that. I just that kind of stuff just irks me.
There have been instances where people do need safe zones, apparently, for even stuff they hear in the news. This is something that it doesn't really necessarily, I feel, make a huge newsworthy thing. It doesn't really seem like if they have the same hands. Honestly, looking at the picture, you can't really tell that they're the same sex. It just seems like they're hands. So, I mean, I feel like people are just making stuff just to be feel
it
relevant.
sounds like they're looking for it.
They're throwing things way out of proportion just because they can't tell what the actual sex.
I saw someone make fun of it, actually. Someone said that they drew out what they imagined the rest of that image looks like. So you see the two hands, and they implied that it was one person, and up top they drew Hitler. I was like, you know what? You might have a case there if that's what it is. But I thought that was funny because it was like everyone's looking for a reason to be offended. You know what? There you go. King me.
Yeah, see, whether you agree with same-sex marriage or not, it doesn't seem like it
Doesn't
needs
affect
to be.
you.
It doesn't seem like it needs to be such a huge thing because it's on a cup. You can
Yeah.
choose not to get the cup.
Yeah, honestly.
Or
like
you could
that's-
choose just not to go to Starbucks. You could always just make your own.
Yeah,
make
you
your
know
own
they always
coffee.
talk about boycotts, but you know that doesn't happen. All these people that can afford to go to Starbucks on a daily basis, you know they're not going to stop just because of a cup.
Yeah.
So certainly it's just like nothing is going to change.
And some companies like to do it their own way. So I mean, it's not such a big deal if a company wants to. You can't force a company to change their ways just because you feel
Like this
you're
one
not being
thing about
appropriated.
them is just
Yeah.
yeah. So like I mean, like it's a huge non-issue. That's kind of what this boils down to.
And in the end, just to wrap this and everything up, so we had 1 year. It was based off of religion. What was
Was it holiday?
Yeah, it was
it
Christmas.
it was a
They
holiday.
call it the holiday cup or
Holiday
whatever.
cup. It had basically Santa and everything else, and then they changed it to a red cup. There was another one that was also related to religion, but it was basically showing like the different symbols, if I remember correctly. And they were like, "No, we're just gonna just make it all colorful and pretty and festive."
Yeah.
And then right now, the more recent one is LGBTQ related sort of situation. Everyone's up in arm.
It's actually LGBTQ plus.
And there's
Yeah,
a
'cause
couple.
there's like what's
They added
22?
24 genders.
They
I thought
added.
it was
well, I mean,
22.
in general, they just like I think
Last time I looked at it, like
There's
a couple
lot.
months ago,
they
it was like
add on the
30
basis
something.
of like popularity or something. I think.
We'll go with 64.
But in the end, what do you think will be next year's big whole Starbucks boycott type of whatever? shindig?
Someone doesn't get enough pumps of fucking vanilla bullshit or whatever the fuck people get
Oh,
these
I got it.
days.
It'll be Colin Kaepernick kneeling.
Actually, Starbucks. This isn't the first time Starbucks has gotten like some outlandish lawsuits. There was one time Starbucks got sued because there was too much ice in iced coffee, and a lady decided to sue. Obviously, she didn't win, but they had
remember that
to.
story.
They had to lower the amount of ice that they put. To be
Welcome to
careful.
America. Crazy lawsuits.
Yeah, some outlandish lawsuits there.
All right. Well, I think we basically hit all the points we were going to tonight, so we're going to go ahead and sign off. But thank you for joining us. We had a lot of fun. This has been
Presumptuously.
This has been the It's MK podcast. I'm Mason.
I'm Buns.
I'm Griffin.
I'm Huna.
And that'll be all for tonight. Thank you.